whatever the case may be, whatever the context is, that opportunity was presented to you by God, which means He trusts you to do it. You are, in fact, the person for the job. As a quick reminder, be sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow if you find this video helpful. If you find any of my videos helpful, please like, comment on them, share them with the folks in your network that you think will find the information useful so that the algorithm can send it out to even more people who need to find it. All right. Follow me on Instagram, Pinterest, and Threads at Getting the Win Show, and subscribe on YouTube at Getting the Win. So let's get into it. Good evening, my winners and goal getters. Welcome to another episode of the Getting the Win Show. I am your host, Melissa T, the procrastination bully. Welcome back. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. Now, today we're touching on a topic that affects every kind of creative possible, and some non-creatives too. This can affect you if you're in a corporate setting as well and you're faced with a project that is either new or something that is beyond, you feel like it's a little above your head, a little beyond your scope. But today's topic is imposter syndrome. We want to tackle this today because this is something that slows many people down, myself included. Remember, like, the procrastination bully is somebody that is a recovering procrastinator myself. So I know the language, I know the feeling, I know your pain. I deal with the same things that you deal with. And so today I want to tackle imposter syndrome because it's something that many of us deal with. So the first thing I want to share is four words. Four words that the Lord helped me to understand. Action is the antidote. Okay, let's start there. Action is the antidote. No matter what we are thinking, no matter how we are questioning ourselves about what we're doing, action beats thought every time. Action trumps thought every single time. So whatever that thing is that you're asking yourself, who am I to do this? Or nobody's going to believe me, or what if I do this and they find me out to be a fraud, so to speak, right? That's the whole fear behind imposter syndrome, right? Like, what if people find me out and they realize that I'm less than what I am, putting myself forth to be? When the truth of the matter is, what if you put yourself out there and people find you far more excellent than you thought you were? Speaking from experience on that one. Speaking from experience on that one. A lot of times you may actually be the solution that people are looking for, regardless of what your luxury item is. Whether that is a book, because I'm talking to authors now, whether that is your book that you've been sitting on, or it's a project at work if you're in the corporate setting, and maybe you're the voice of the group and you're like, well, I'm not someone that's necessarily very vocal, or I've been vocal before and my ideas have been disregarded. The truth is, action is the antidote regardless. Action is the antidote. Step into whatever that plan is that is set before you to execute, whether you created the plan or the plan has been presented to you. Step into it at the highest level possible. Tony Robbins calls it take big action, taking big action. Take the big action. It's the antidote. It gets you out of your head. It gets you moving. It gets you focused. A friend of mine, she and I have been working together in terms of her coaching. We're cross coaching each other. Like, she's really great at emotional intelligence and she's helping me with some of the things that I'm working on. And as a procrastination bully, I'm helping her get out of her head. We decided, hey, like, let's pick a day. And, you've been kind of nitpicking in terms of how to record your podcast or whatever. And I know I need to record my episodes. So we picked a day. We chose a day on the calendar and we muted our Zoom mics and recorded our respective episodes. That was the work session because action is the antidote. It worked. She got out of her head and she recorded her episode, and I recorded mine. Action is the antidote. No matter what the question is, no matter what the thing is that you're concerned that you may come across as fraudulent with, you're actually pretty excellent. You're more excellent than you give yourself credit for. And I'll share with you a story from my own experience. So, if you've been following the podcast for a while, you've heard me share my story about the 9 years that I spent in the news media industry. Now, back then, I was doing all the things, 50 million jobs, and always questioned my credibility as a leader, especially given the fact that I am someone that works at a more methodical pace. I am not super turbo. I am not that person that is an aggressive talker in terms of confrontations, or as I like to call them, clarifying conversations. These days, I'm better equipped to have those. At the time, I absolutely wasn't. I used to avoid them like the plague. So I wasn't the greatest at that. I was great at facilitating conversations that we were brainstorming ideas for. So anything that we were coming up with that we wanted to get buy-in from our team members, I was great at facilitating those conversations, and I was great at being out in the field and being excellent at what I was good at, which is reporting. I'm a great storyteller. I am someone who is good at conversation. So, me with a microphone, absolutely. Absolutely. I was great at conducting interviews, even if they were only 2 minutes long and we're talking and walking. Like, I'm here and the person's over there and they're walking really fast. I'm great with that. I became very good at those impromptu interviews. So, when I left that job and moved to Atlanta, I was someone who suffered from imposter syndrome regarding that job. When I left, all the praises came in. And I was like, oh, I didn't I didn't know that. I didn't know that I had such an impact at the time. You know what I mean? I thought I was just going through the motions. I thought I was like mid, as young folks would say now. I sound old by saying young folks. I'm in the middle, y'all. Like too old to be considered young, but too young to be considered old. Like I'm in the middle. But like you'll hear Gen Zers or even Gen Alpha call somebody mid. Like I thought I was mid. No, like since I do everything in excellence, other people perceive the excellence that I was working in. I just took it for granted because it was me. And half the time I worried about who am I to say this, who am I to do this, because I always felt ill prepared. So let me move on to number two here. First, action is the antidote. So take action, take big action, work excellently in all the things that you're doing. But this next point right here, yeah, let's talk about that. If you feel imposter syndrome because you feel ill prepared, then I would just strongly recommend prepare, like whatever that looks like for you. If that involves carving out some extra time to do more research on what you're doing, then do that. Now, if you're someone who has done all the research and you're still feeling ill prepared, that's the time when you call in your accountability partner and perhaps do what I just shared with that working session. Working sessions are a great way to push yourself because now you're on camera with somebody else that is holding you accountable and they're watching you work. So if you're somebody that number two is your struggle, but you've already been doing a whole bunch of research already, talk it over with another who. Have them ask you questions and request that. Like, okay, this is what I've done, this is what I'm working on. Like, ask me some questions about it. Because they may be able, since they're approaching this from the outside, they may be able to ask you some things and shine a light on some blind spots that you may not have thought about, that you may not have accounted for. Call in that who. If you're the air traffic controller or a ground crew and you've covered all the bases, but you still want to cover your bases some more to the point that you can't see your bases anymore, call in your who. Phone a friend, okay? Because it's likely that you are actually prepared. You're simply believing the narrative that you've always told yourself. And when it comes to that, Les Brown talks about this all the time. it is important for you to disrupt your narrative, change the story that is in your mind. And the most effective way to do that is with a who, an external who is not connected to your situation and can see it objectively. So phone a friend, bring in your who. Okay. So one element in the imposter syndrome is simply taking the action. Another element in imposter syndrome is that feeling of being ill prepared. So the solution there is either continue to prepare, like focus on what you really need to know. And if you're somebody that has already done a bunch of research, call in your who to make sure you're not overdoing it and wasting more time. Because perfectionism is just another form of procrastination. Done is always greater than perfect. Done is always more fruitful than perfect. It is always more fruitful than perfect because when you take the action and you finish, you can always iterate. You can always go back and make a correction. If it's something that you have to record, like a video like this, you can always go back and either re-record, do some extra takes because you can edit. If it's a live stream, that's a different story. There, folks are seeing your errors in real time, and that's okay. That's the beautiful thing. As of this recording, we're living in an era between Gen Zs and Gen Alpha. They don't they don't want the polished look, actually. They really don't. They want to know what's real and what's not, especially since we're now living in the age of AI. They want to know what's human and what's not. Humans make mistakes still. That is still a thing. Now, AI makes mistakes as well, but even the AI mistakes aren't human looking. Even their mistakes look different. So don't be afraid to make an error. So this is number 3 in the imposter syndrome. Don't let your fear of making a mistake stop you. If it's something where you misspeak, you can always come back to a recording and correct yourself. Even in the news media, happens all the time. There will be an article, and what they'll do is if there was a mistake in the article, they will do a quick if it's print, they'll do something in the editorial section where they'll make a note of the error and state the correction. If it's online, what they'll do is the main article will be down here, and right above the main article, they'll put a sentence disclaiming, we previously incorrectly stated this, and this. It is in fact this. Correct it. If it's a corporate setting and you make an error, you confer with the necessary parties and make your correction. Like, hey, we stated this, and this. That I misspoke, we misspoke, it is actually this. People actually appreciate that. So if that is your concern with the imposter syndrome, like I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to do this and come out wrong. People will actually appreciate it when you double back and say, "Wait, I said this, but actually it's this." People appreciate that because they know that you double, triple, quadruple check your work. And they'll appreciate it because they meant enough to you that you took the time to double, triple, quadruple check the work. It means they mattered enough to you that you did your diligence, and let them know that. Is it better to get it done right the first time? Absolutely. Remember, I'm high air traffic controller myself. I'm big on details. I want that stuff to be correct the first time because I don't like redundancy. Like, I don't like having to do it again. However, I will if I have to. I've reached that point. So, to one of my previous episodes where I talked about doing the work, this might be an extra exercise that may help you push past the hump of imposter syndrome. You may need to mourn a version of yourself or mourn the vision of yourself that you had in order to move forward. Whatever that perfect vision that you had of yourself is, you may have to take some time out, have the funeral, and be like, you know what? This is what I was hoping for. I don't know that this is going to be possible. Let me make my peace with this. so I can finally move on and do this thing. That could be a 10-minute journal entry. It could be a 30-minute conversation with yourself in the mirror. However long it takes, if that is something you need to do, by all means do that, and then move forward to do the thing that you need to do, that you're questioning yourself about, wondering whether or not it's going to work, wondering whether or not you're the right person for the job. In one of my very early episodes in season 1, if you're someone that's brand new to the show, I always hammer the fact that we are all #luxury items, because we are created by God, we are called by Him, and any ideas that we have come from Him and are entrusted to us by Him to be completed. So if you have an idea or you've been given an assignment, whether directly from God or in that corporate environment or in that collaborative environment, if you're working with a small business, whatever the case may be, whatever the context is, that opportunity was presented to you by God, which means He trusts you to do it. You are, in fact, the person for the job. Okay? That is the next point I want to share with you. You are indeed the person for the job. You are the perfect person for the job. As imperfect as you are, as you think you may be, you are the perfect person for the job. Case in point, God told me I am called to glorify Him with words, number 1. Number 2, target audience, recovering procrastinators. That recovering procrastinators part, 2019. I didn't launch this podcast till 2023. That was a bit of time there. So, like, that imposter syndrome thing will cause you to pause, because even though I'm a recovering procrastinator, I certainly had my misgivings. I certainly asked myself, who am I to talk about this? Like, I am not a psychologist. I am not a scientist in any way. I'm a nerd. So I'll do all the research, but who am I to talk about it? And God was like, no, you're a recovering procrastinator yourself. You are the perfect person to talk about it. You know the pain points, you speak their language. Talk to them. There was a time even prior to 2019, I want to say this was 2017 or 2016, in which I had the idea to start a YouTube channel and I wanted to do reaction videos to my favorite anime. You know what I did? I let the imposter syndrome stop me, because I said, well, who am I to do reaction videos on old material? Like, some of my favorite anime are 20 and 30 years old. Who am I to do reaction videos on that stuff? Nobody's going to care. Can I tell you, in 2024, I saw so many reaction video channels pop up for vintage stuff. Because at the time when God gave me that idea in 2016, the thing that I was not thinking about at all is the cross-generational significance of something like that. The reason those reaction videos are significant right now is that these are Gen Z folks or Gen Alpha folks that are watching older cartoon series, anime series, older movies, older movie franchises from when Gen X and we millennials were growing up. There's a cross-generational appeal for an idea like that. I had no idea. That was the one part that I missed from that idea. So with the imposter syndrome in my mind, I shot the idea down, never did it. Mind you, that was 2016. And if you're familiar with YouTube, you're aware of how long it takes to build up an audience. So you can imagine, had I been doing that from 2016, and the fact that reaction videos are indeed a platform or a type of video that is very popular. There are educational videos, there are entertainment videos. Reaction videos falls under the entertainment part. Very successful channels. Those kind of channels will blow up in 2 or 3 years. get a million followers within 2 to 3 years. Easy. By now, that could have been my whole business model had I not chosen to allow the imposter syndrome to stop me from doing that. So for now, this is my YouTube channel and it's growing. It's over a year old now. It's growing. So I'm glad I took action on this because anything you're doing takes as long as it takes. Anything I ever set my hand to takes as long as it takes. And this is why I am the procrastination bully. Like, I want to bully the procrastination out of you so that you can get started on the thing because it's going to take as long as it takes. If it's the book you're procrastinating on, get with me. Like, follow me on Instagram at Getting the Win Show and then DM me because a book takes as long as it takes. The beautiful thing about it is that it doesn't take nearly as long as it used to. It doesn't have to anymore. I can get you some cheat codes to shorten that time. So if that's what you're procrastinating on, and that's the reason why you're procrastinating on it, maybe you think it takes too long. Let's clear that roadblock today. Let's clear that roadblock today. Okay? There are easy ways to get it done. If you're procrastinating on something because you have the imposter syndrome, that you're ill prepared, DM me about that too. Like, I can be that external person that can ask you the questions to help clear the cobwebs, to help you get to the blind spots that you may not be accounting for. Let's go. Let's do it. If you're interested in joining the Go Getter community, same thing. Follow me on Instagram at Getting the Win Show. DM me. Mention community, and I'll get you into mine. Okay? But let's overcome this imposter syndrome situation because we're talking millions of dollars being left on the table. Millions of dollars. Whether that's an entrepreneurial idea that you had and you chose to set aside because insert question here, whether you felt ill prepared, you felt like you weren't worthy of the idea, you felt like nobody was going to believe in you or believe you. The truth is, you are far more excellent than you give yourself credit for. You have no idea who's out there waiting to hear from you. In a previous episode, I talked about my friend who's also, we're also cross coaching each other. She shared her book idea with me that she has been procrastinating on. When she described her book idea, I said, we got to get that out of you because that book is meant for me. That message resonates with me, and that's something I need to learn myself. That we need to get that book out of you. So, whatever it is that you're questioning yourself about, rest assured you are far more excellent than you give yourself credit for. Take that big action because action is the antidote. Once you get that first ball rolling, remember, procrastination is all about starting. Once we get started, then the ball can roll and we can build momentum. So take that big action. Action is the antidote. If you feel ill prepared, let that be your first action. Focus on the specific thing you feel ill prepared about. And if you've already been doing a bunch of research and you still feel ill prepared, call your who. Get that extra objective voice that is separate and away from the situation to ask all the questions that you need them to ask you to get those blind spots. Or to simply confirm that you're already on the right track. Sometimes it's that. Maybe there is no blind spot. But as you externally process it with another person, you might find, oh, okay, I'm on the right track. I can actually do this. I can actually get started. Then start. Okay. And then that next point was you are a luxury item. The thing you're working on is a luxury item. The idea that has been entrusted to you is a luxury item. God entrusted it to you. So you are, in fact, the perfect person for the job. Even if you don't feel like you are, especially if you're somebody who's a reluctant leader, like you're in a position of leadership and you're a reluctant leader, you are still the right person for the job. Because perhaps you possess wiring that the actual leader of the project does not. Let's say, for instance, the leader of the project is indeed a pilot or flight attendant. So they move very quickly. They're extroverted. So they talk, they're an external processor. They talk through things. Perhaps you're someone who, like me, is an introvert. And maybe you're even an empath like me. Perhaps you're grounds crew. So leading is not anything you ever want to be doing. However, your advantage, the the thing that you can add to the table that perhaps the actual leader of the project cannot, is empathy. Because someone who is a pilot, they're visionary, they're fast moving, they're aggressive. So they're responsible for flying the plane and getting everyone to the respective destination. However, because a pilot moves so quickly, the empathy part might get left out of the equation because pilots prioritize facts over feelings. As grounds crew, you have the gift of both being task oriented and people oriented. So perhaps you bring empathy to the table. That will be a huge asset in leading your team. Perhaps you lead by facilitation. Perhaps you're more collaborative. You ask more questions. You get more buy in that way. That's an asset. That's an asset. It's an advantage you have. If you're more air traffic controller, maybe you're not so people oriented like the grounds crew, but you're also not, you don't feel the need to lead. Because remember, pilots and air traffic controllers are very similar in their behavior styles. The only difference is their speed. Air traffic controllers move more methodically. They move at a more methodical pace. They prefer to be behind the scenes. They prefer to be unseen. So if you're an air traffic controller and you're put in a leadership position, your advantage is your attention to detail. Because if the head person, the main leader that is assigning you to lead this group, this smaller subgroup, if they're a pilot or flight attendant, they're all speed, no details, period. All speed, no details. So as an air traffic controller, you may not want to be in the front. You may not want to be talking and dealing with people. However, your advantage at the table is the level of detail. You will catch every blind spot that your leader cannot. That's your advantage. That's your advantage. Okay. So I fully get it. Like me, I was in that leadership position for 9 years, didn't want to be, had no clue what I was doing at the time. By the grace of God, I was being led by someone who's a pilot and flight attendant together, like that combination. So I did learn some important leadership things, which leads me to my final point in this conversation about imposter syndrome. The loudest question: what if I fail? Or what if they don't want what I'm offering? So that's like 1A and 1B. Like, what if I fail? Or what if they don't want what I'm offering? What if they say no? I'm gonna work my way backwards. 1B, this is the loudest lesson I learned in them 9 years of working in the news media. Because I'm someone that's big on compliance, being high air traffic controller. I'm big on rules, regulations, and compliance. However, given the kind of news media outlet we were the fastest growing Black owned news media outlet in Central Florida, in the state of Florida, really. There were a lot of no's. So the the one thing that my boss taught me is let them tell you no. Don't assume the answer is no. Push back, ask your questions, let them tell you no. And even when they tell you no, ask them why. Like, find out what their reasoning is. And then once you get a reason, like, work through the reason. Because perhaps there's something you can work out together. Perhaps there is something that can be negotiated. But let them tell you no. Don't automatically assume the answer is no. If you have an idea, remember what I told you, the reaction video idea? I told myself no because I thought the world, YouTube didn't want that, didn't care. I told myself no. I didn't ask the market. I never tried to do a reaction video. Let them tell you no. Let the marketplace tell you no. Let whoever you're trying to ask the question tell you no. Let whoever you're negotiating with tell you no. And even when you hear the no, find out why. Because that's data. That's data. Now, coming back to that other question, what if I fail? Same answer. That's data. One, the world doesn't end. Rejection is information. I'm having to learn this in real time myself, because you're looking at somebody that has dealt with rejection as a whole wound. I have had to grow through my fear of rejection, and it was strong. You're talking from childhood. I have come to learn that rejection is not the end of the world. It's data. Is it uncomfortable? Absolutely. I don't like it. Can I be honest with you? I don't like it. However, it's data. It's information. Especially when you get a why, especially when you get the feedback. For me, that's the best. When it's a hard no and nothing else, that's annoying, because then there's no why. There's no recourse when it's like that. When you get a no with a reason, that's data. You can go back and say, oh, they wanted this, this, and this. I was missing this part and this part. It gives you something to correct. It gives you something to work on to move forward and iterate, as I mentioned earlier. So what if I fail? One, you might not. But two, even if you do, it's okay. The world won't end. Rejection is data. Failure is data. You've likely heard the old adage from, they love to quote Thomas Edison. I didn't I didn't find 1,000 ways to create the light bulb. I found 999 ways that it didn't work. Like, that's it. It's a matter of perspective. So let's knock imposter syndrome out of the way. Let this be one less thing that stops you from getting your luxury item done. You are the perfect person for the job. Do whatever research you need to. And if you feel you've done too much and you're still feeling ill-prepared, get your who. Take massive action. Action is the antidote. And hey, what if you fail? The world won't end. You will be all right. Take the data, learn the lessons, and reiterate. Let other people tell you no. Ask the question, let them tell you no. And when you hear a no, push even further to find out the why behind the no. Because that is data. You can do something with the why. You can take corrective action there. Let action be your favorite pill going forward. Let action be your fuel. Become addicted to execution. Because that's what I'm growing to. I'm becoming addicted to execution. And action is a wonderful feeling. For someone who is a recovering procrastinator, action is actually a wonderful feeling. Executing and seeing something come to fruition is a wonderful feeling. So that is what I encourage you to do as well. Hopefully this episode has been beneficial for you. If you like it, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, all that fun stuff. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to subscribe there at Getting the Win. Like the episode, share it with your people so that the algorithm can get it out to as many more people as possible. Okay? If you're listening to this on podcasts, be sure to subscribe there as well. Thank you so much. And please leave a review. Let folks know how this podcast is impacting you. I appreciate you. In the meantime and between time, have a great and productive rest of your Wednesday and a great and productive rest of your week. Peace.